Competition Committee also has proposed expansion of replay assist to include the replay assistant having the power to pick up a flag that was erroneously thrown. However, they will not empower the replay assistant to do the one thing that the replay assistant needs to be able to do when we see that Sam Darnold's head has been given an exorcist-style 360 and they didn't see it on the field. We can't drop a flag for face mask because we don't want the game to be officiated from the booth. It's going to be officiated from the booth when it comes to picking up the flag, but it's not going to be officiated from the booth when it comes to dropping a flag. It's a non-starter to drop a flag from the booth. That's what Troy Vincent said yesterday. I reject that. I think that's another lazy and ill-conceived approach that does not have the best interest of the game at heart, because we got to get away from these clearly and obviously missed calls like a face mask that everyone watching the game saw and that the officials on the field didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like you, and just like I just want it right. I want it right. And what's the difference between picking up a flag that was a mistake and then dropping one that wasn't dropped that was a mistake?
There is none.
So I don't really get that either. And I'm not saying we need to do that for everything, but like for ones that again that are so obvious, there's no debate. There's no like, ooh, this guy saw like face mask, horse collar. Like if it's missed. Hey, I just saw the replay. It was a face mask. We dropped the flag. Boom. Okay, great. Oh, whoa. It took 5 extra seconds. So what? Like, to me, that's worth it, especially in the scenario we talked about last year. Last drive of the game, trying to come back to win a football game. Game over because of that play. But we're going to be okay with an egregious mistake that's missed and a team loses because of it. We're going to be okay with that because we just don't want to say, hey, that was a blatant penalty. You missed it. Drop the flag. I don't know. I don't understand that one either.
This is one of those examples where the people who hold the equity in the teams, the people who have the most pressing financial and overall interest in the direction that the ship is sailing, they need to save the sport. Not that the sport is going to die. I don't want to get into like political rhetoric, but this is they have a flaw that we all know about that could undermine the integrity of a Super Bowl, that could undermine the integrity of a postseason game, that we've seen become a factor late in critical regular season games. And they need to fix it. And I don't accept the explanation, especially if they say that dropping a flag with replay as a non-starter, there's already a provision for dropping a flag with replay. If 12 guys are on the field, and this has happened, replay shows that the guy didn't get off the field in time. They dropped the flag.
Valid point. So why is that a non-starter? Why is that a why is that? Yeah.
This is what happens when somebody wants it a certain way, and they're going to say whatever they have to say to end the subject and move on to the next topic. And it's so obvious when stuff like that is going on, whether it's labeling something a gimmick because we don't want to have the conversation, or coming up with some word salad that is not logically coherent, because they can't call it a non-starter when they started down that path years ago. And if they're going to focus on truly clear and objective situations, why would you not? Why would you not? For the categories of fouls that they're going to pick the flag up for, why would you not empower a flag to be dropped? If a defenseless player received impermissible contact to the head or neck area, okay, if they can tell by replay that it didn't happen, they're going to pick it up. If you can tell by replay that it did happen, why in the F-K would you not drop the flag? Face mask, we've already discussed it. Horse collar, why would you empower the replay assistant to pick up a flag if it wasn't and not let the replay assistant drop the flag if it was? We're not talking about, because at first I thought, they're worried that the replay assistant is going to go rogue and say there was holding 10 yards away from the point of attack.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the big concerns. You could drop a flag for anything.
Right,
you could have holding here and you could have this. But for something that is that focused and that clear, it either did or didn't happen, and we have the clear and obvious evidence that it did or didn't happen, it is beyond me. And I'm not going to let this go. And I'll risk the awkward conversations with Rich McKay, Troy Vincent, or anyone else when we go to Florida next week. I do not understand, and I reject wholeheartedly the idea that it's okay to pick it up, but it's not okay to drop it. for defenseless player, face mask, horse collar, tripping, and roughing and running into the kicker. If it's good enough to pick it up, it's good enough to drop it.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. I understand. I think in a lot of ways too. I mean, the dropping of the flag really. I mean, if you're talking about time constraints or any of that, I don't think it's going to take any longer than wait. We gotta get back in the huddle here. We're gonna listen to New York. Oh, okay, it's not. Hey, we're gonna pick up the flag. There's more gymnastics in that than just dropping the flag and going, hey, the ball was there. We're going 10 yards forward now, right? Instead of like, oh wait, we moved the chains. Right, we threw a flag. Oh, wait, they're telling me it's not. Hey, wait, move the chains back. It's going to take a few minutes. Hold on a second, everybody. I mean, that takes longer than the other way around, too, at least in my mind's eye as I think about it and talk about it. I didn't think about it a lot, but as I think about it right now. So, yeah, I'm with you there, Mike. I'm not going to disagree with much of what you said.
I wasn't available yesterday to participate in the conference call where they had these conversations. They have provided a audio file, so I'm going to go listen to the whole thing today to make sure I'm not missing anything. But this is the quote that Kevin Seifert of ESPN.com shared from the guy who still has a career in football despite the fact that he drafted you in 2003, Rich McKay. You're not going to give me any.
I was going to let you go, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah, go.
All right,
go.
Anyway, okay. The idea was, and this is Rich McKay yesterday, the idea was that the game being officiated from the replay booth changes pretty much everything and takes away the judgment that we give to officials on the field and would require substantial rework of the rules. So I think everybody is kind of universal in saying we want the game officiated on the field, but we want replay assist to be able to step in where there is a clear miss of an objective element of a foul and fix it. That logically does not hold water. The game is being officiated from the booth to say, sorry, Mr. Official, you dropped a flag when you shouldn't have. But for that narrow category of plays where it either is or it isn't, there's no judgment. This isn't pass interference. And we've already had the misadventures in 2019 with pass interference. It's not it. This is, was there a horse collar? Wasn't there a horse collar? Was there contact to the head or neck area of the defenseless receiver? Or wasn't there? Was there a face mask or wasn't there? If it's clear and obvious it wasn't, and they're going to pick up the flag, it can be clear and obvious that it was, and they can drop the flag. I don't buy this. And this gets back to 1972, John Facenda, slow motion, snowflakes, the football spiraling just a little bit off center to make it look even better. This is what drew me to the sport, and I want what's best for the sport. And that quote does not reflect the standard that the NFL set for itself in the 70s because it does not logically make sense.
No.
If it's good enough to pick up the flag, it's good enough to drop the flag.
I hear you there. I'm totally with you. The only one I'll say that I'm not for that on, okay? And I will say, here's the only one I'm not, is the defenseless player no head neck contact one. That would be the only one I'm not for. Because, again,
Either way?
Either way. That would be the only one. Just hear me out. And you might disagree with me.
I just want to make, because I think I agree with you.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if it's good enough to pick it up, it's good enough to drop it. I'm saying it's not enough to do either.
On this one specifically, because here's what would bother me a little bit about this one. That, okay, we know we could pick the flag up if it's, he got hit in the chest, right? Blah, blah, blah. He didn't get hit in the head, all that. I don't want the other way around where the guy really hit him in the chest. And the back part of his helmet, which is connected to his head, right, as he hit him in the chest, touched the guy's face mask, right here, and really wasn't a forcible blow to the head or neck, but it did it. It's just going to open up Pandora's box, and she's in there, everybody going, wait, it did hit his head. It did. Look at it. It just did it. And that's the only one I don't love that on. So I don't know if you agree with me there, but everything else I'm with you. Yeah.
It's more fun when we disagree, but I agree with you because how many times do we see one of these replays and know how many times you look at it, it's like, did it?
Yes.
Or didn't it?
Exactly.
Was it?
Right.
Or wasn't it?
Right.
And I think back to 2019 when Al Riveron, who was the VP of officiating at the time, was going around doing the meetings before the season starts, and they go over the rule changes, and this was the year that pass interference calls and non-calls were going to be available, and they were going to drop a flag or they were going to pick a flag up. See, don't act like they've never done this before. They did this in 2019. They're not crossing a bridge that they've never crossed before. And I know it was a disaster and it makes them not want to cross that bridge again, but this is different. And this is where the risk is entailed, both with picking a flag up and dropping a flag, because you can get into a frame by frame what the hell happened.
Right.
And even as you go frame by frame, somebody thinks they saw it and the other person doesn't. And that defenseless player hit to the head or neck area with the helmet or any other part of the body, technically, if you hit a defenseless player in the head or neck area with your forearm, with your shoulder, anything. But still, we've seen so many of those where we're like,
yeah, it touched.
Show me again.
Yeah, but I don't.
Okay,
yeah,
I think it did.
Right,
Show me again.
Yeah.
I don't think it did.
Right.
So I agree with you that one could be pulled out of the category of plays you could do it for. But for the others, for face mask, horse collar, tripping, roughing or running into the kicker, I think it's there.
Yeah, they're plain as day. They're plain as day. You're right. Those are ones that we don't ever have arguments in our viewing room, or 20 dumb guys in the bar, as you like to say, or whatever, right? It's just those are ones that's like, no, that's that. Boom, see you later. Closed door. End of conversation.
Well, and for roughing and running into the kicker, because there is an element of judgment there, it would be whether or not the player who committed the foul
tip the ball
right before contact, because that is something that is objective and conducive to clear and obvious evidence one way or the other. So I apologize I didn't make that point earlier, because there is an element of subjectivity and you need to be on the field. And I get that. But we also need to be realistic about it. The very standard that we are applying to determine clear and obvious evidence to pick up a flag is no different than the standard that would apply to dropping a flag. This isn't a holding penalty 10 yards away or 10 years from the point of contact. This is objective, clear, it happened or it didn't. And I really do hope that common sense prevails in the form of the 32 owners who will have the same questions. And I'd like to think that we're in the mainstream and that we're right on this. And hopefully at least 24 of the owners think the way we think about it, because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
okay.
Hopefully.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.